You know, it's truly amazing to see what God is doing right down here in Tasmania. Let me explain. Here's a graph showing the baptisms and professions of faith for our conference. Notice 2017, 2018, and then last year, 2019. It's very clear that God is on the move down here. We have a strategic plan to help us achieve our objectives. It has 4 areas. Number 1, spirituality and revival. The second area is that of training and equipping our members. Thirdly, we're looking at how we can reach out to the community. And finally, the financial objectives to help us reach those other 3 areas. Spiritual revival and reformation. And one of the areas we've been looking at is prayer focus. We've been conducting right across the conference days of prayer and fasting for the outpouring of God's Spirit. A second area is that of Sabbath school. We're seeking to make Sabbath school a place where members care for each other, get to know each other, where mission takes place. And we're seeing some wonderful things starting to happen.
God is doing amazing things at Deloraine. We are now a care group driven church, and because of that, we've had to add classes to our Sabbath school. We have a beginners class, we have an intermediate class, we have a fast discipleship training class, we have our quarterly class, and of course the children's classes. Deloraine Sabbath School is now an absolute hive of activity. And I don't think God has finished with us yet.
Second area of focus is training, equipping, empowering and mobilising our members. And we've sought to make every church a training centre. And the key people are the pastors. They're the ones to coordinate, and the conference works with them. And they're the best place, the pastors, because they're with the members. This is a tremendous method. Our third area is that of transforming our communities. And we have 2 focus areas. One, doing good ministries. And so we have the ADRA ministry. And this is a tremendous ministry. We have op shops, ADRA op shops in Ulverston, down in Hobart, in Glenorchy. We have the Launceston Church has an op shop, members there running an op shop. And then we have a new op shop down in Waratah, initiated by lay members. And people around the conference are taking food parcels and clothing and so on to people, especially during COVID-19. And they're conducting vegetarian cooking courses. They're also conducting health expos with the men as well around the conference last year, and then depression recovery and mental health seminars. I want you to notice what took place in New Norfolk that was kicked off by mental health seminar.
Last year I was the minister at New Norfolk Church, and when we first got to that church, it was a pretty small congregation, not much outreach happening. So we made a plan to go through the cycle of evangelism. Look, at the end of that time, you know, this church hadn't had a baptism in nearly 30 years, and we were able to baptise 3 or 4 people within a number of months. The best result was a lady that had come totally from the community, no Adventist connections before, and she came to our mental health program, she came to our preaching series, she came to other evangelistic endeavours happening around Hobart, and then finally she came to our Bible study series, and then we baptised her in January.
Then of course there's Christian education, and it's truly amazing to see what's happening in both of our schools. Notice what's taking place.
Recounting God's blessings in 30 seconds? Impossible. Let me just give you some highlights.
One of the greatest blessings that we've received here at the Northwest Christian School in Tasmania is this year's acceptance by the Non-Government Schools Registration Authority to register us for the full maximum time period so that we can go all the way from K to grade 12, all the way into the future, knowing that God's hand is over us and looking after us.
When I think of 2020, I reflect on a dichotomy. On one side, the COVID-19 challenges have made it one of the hardest years that many of the teachers and students have experienced. Yet by working together, we've achieved some incredible successes, with approval to extend into years 11 and 12, 4 years registration with the registration board, record enrolments, and a building program about to commence. As we reflect on the year, it's all about God's leading. I believe very strongly that this is God's school and will go where He wishes. I've seen the evidence of that this year and trust as we walk in His path, we will continue to prosper.
So our schools are clearly helping to transform Tasmania with Jesus for eternity. The second area is that of proclamation ministry. And we were called as a church to share Jesus in the context of the three angels' messages. And as a result, we've been increasing the amount of work done through radio ministry, Faith FM, right around our conference now, and we're about to see even greater things taking place in this space. On top of this, we now have social media ministry. Pastor Robbie Bergen kicked it off, and we've brought equipment, and already we've been able to run this year programs during COVID-19, Predictions of Hope for Australia and New Zealand. Evangelistic small groups, these are really amazing.
My wife and I have a small group here in our house. At first we invited just one person for dinner because my wife loves to cook and bake. And I met this individual on Facebook Marketplace. And this man introduced to us a family and another family. And my wife also invited a colleague at work. And there was one I met outside while I was just washing the car. And the other I met him in Kmart, and they introduced people to us. And the Lord has blessed. Our numbers started to grow. And last Christmas, before lockdown, we had 53 people who joined us, not counting those who were not with us at the time. Now, there are 20 different nationalities in our small group. And we have seen 6 people accepted Jesus as their personal Savior. 9 ongoing Bible studies with 15 Bible students.
And then finally, we've been conducting Prophetica seminar, one-day seminars, followed by traditional public campaigns and prophecy seminars. In fact, this is the reason we've seen this spike. We've intentionally focused on this because God called us to it, and it's been taking off as a result of that. Finally, the fourth area is that of the financial objectives. And it's truly wonderful to see what God is doing in this space.
2019 has been a good year for Tasmania. Tithe has increased over 5%, and in 2020, despite of COVID-19, we are projecting over 15% of tithe increase over the previous year. For Spring Beach has been a good year in 2019 with a surplus, first in many years. Our schools are becoming self-sufficient with surpluses reported over the previous years, and now gearing up for building projects because student numbers are increasing. This is exciting to see how God grows His kingdom in Tasmania.
Well, like other conferences, we have our challenges, and I think this year has shown us a very big challenge, COVID-19. You see, down here in Tassie, we had this spike. We were able to run prophecy seminars and public evangelistic campaigns prior to 2020. But I believe this year we probably won't see more than 15 to 20 folk baptised. Why is that? We couldn't run prophecy seminars and public evangelism this year. This has told us that we must also now focus on other areas. If pandemics continue, we will be in big trouble. So we will be focusing on, number one, small groups for the church. If we have a pandemic, we need to be able to have small groups already set up for all members. Secondly, those small groups need to be evangelistic house groups so they can invite community members to come in to those small groups. Well, we have seen very clearly and are seeing God's blessing in our conference. And we believe as we follow what God says and we seek God's help, we will see even greater things as we move into 2021.